Hello and welcome to the YouTube channel, The Big Black American Secret. If you have not already done it, please subscribe to the subscription button below and also hit the bell so that you'll be notified of any when I go live or any new videos that I put out. Today I want to talk about what is the absolute bottom line as far as problem for black people, especially black Americans since I'm black. But the underlying problem is the problem for all black people worldwide. And that problem is racism. And more specifically, racism, white supremacy. There's a video I strongly wish and hope and believe that every black person on the planet should watch this video because it helps to show you exactly what's what in that video, and I'm gonna put the link below. I'm learning how to do these things, but I believe I can put the link below later on before I send this video out. But in case I don't, or if you don't see the link, the name of the YouTube video is "The Crest Theory of Color Confrontation and Racism, White Supremacy" by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. The video you want to watch is the one that's an hour and 23 minutes long. Okay, but now, so I want to talk about racism, and specifically racism, white supremacy. But we're going to start off with that word racism. That word racism has two parts: race and ism. Race means to run, to compete, to be, to run. It's a race. Horse race, dog race. It's a race. It's competition. The second part is ism. Ism means to maintain the status quo, to keep things the way they are. Okay, that being said, I'm going to get into this lesson. Okay, now it's going to be a little history lesson, and it's the most important history lesson I think black people, especially black Americans, need to hear, because this ain't something you're going to hear in mainstream nowhere, because it's just been hidden, and it's also, this YouTube channel is called The Big Black American Secret, and I'll just tell you what that secret is right now. If you're black and you're an American, if you're black and you are West African, if you're black and you are in England or some of the other European nations, it's a good chance you are Native American. It's a good chance that you are an Aboriginal American. Because when slavery happened, when they came to the United States and to the Caribbean islands, they enslaved the Aboriginal people there. And those people who were there were us. It was not the Mongolian, Asian, Eskimo group of people who came here to the United States about 12,000 years ago. They crossed the Bering Straits from Asia, according to paleontologists, about 12,000 years ago. Those are not the people in mass that they saw when they came here. Okay, who they saw when they came here were us. Now I'm gonna get into this, and I'm gonna break all of that down, but I'm gonna do a little reading. So if I murder a few syllables, please ignore that. I'm just human. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so racism. In 1492, Christopher Columbus discovered the islands of the West Caribbean. I mean, of the Caribbeans. West. I want to say the islands in the West Caribbean, and not the West Caribbean, but just the islands in the Caribbean. Okay, and that was in 1492. Now, in 1493, a year later, Pope Alexander VI issued a papal bull, and that's, let's say, Latin or Spanish for decree, which he authorized Spain and Portugal to colonize the Americas and its native people as subjects. The decree asserts the right of Spain and Portugal to colonize, convert, and enslave. It also justified the enslavement of Africans. Very important. Okay? And if you want to go and look up the Papa Bull 1493, and this is Pope Edict, Pope Alexander VI, and you can read that. And this is, this is a Google search. Native Peoples Concepts, Health and Healing, this website. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but you just basically want to look up the Pope asserts rights to colonize, convert, and enslave, and you can read pretty much what I just read. You know, it's public knowledge. Okay, now the other European nations entered the race shortly after to colonize the New World here in America, the so-called New World, because in fact this continent is very old, very very old. In fact, okay. The race was to see which nation could make the most money using the labor of the Aboriginal Americans, aka American Indians, and little, like I say, did we know, today the Aboriginal Americans were and still are black Americans. Based on a few simple things that you could actually look up right today, and what we're going to do. So this is based on the Webster's Dictionary definition of American in 1862. So I've got a tab pulled up here of that definition, and you could Google search this yourself, and it's basically Webster's Dictionary definition of American in 1828. I'm sorry, 1828 definition of American. And I'm gonna turn this phone around so you can see what I'm seeing. You know, oh. Yeah. So, Webster's Dictionary, 1828, definition, American. Now, I'm going to read this off to you. Okay, and basically this is what it reads. It says, American, a noun, native of American, originally applied to the Aboriginal or copper-colored races. Copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Okay? So, brown people were here, us. Okay? Copper colored. Now, the color copper is red or brown. The description of the copper penny, and you can Google that, is red or brown. What were the Indians called? The red man. The brown man. You see the deception? How deep it goes? How it's just so flippant? You see what I'm saying? Okay, now according to the Roman Catholic Church, and this is about that edict I read, the Papa Bull, according to the Roman Catholic Church and the Vatican, if the native people do not submit to God, they are seen as hostile and subject to raping, murder, and slavery. And you heard that right. They're subject, from a Christian point of view, raping, murder, and slavery. So, war was the justification for slavery. Between 1540 and 1923, there were 94 documented American Indian wars conducted with the sole purpose of creating and selling slaves, American Indian slaves. And here's what I have pulled up here. This is from Wikipedia, and it's a list of Indian wars from 1540 to 1923. And that's something you have not heard in your history books. You have not heard of 94 Indian wars for the sole purpose of slavery. But it's factual and it's documented. And here it is. List of American Indian wars, Wikipedia, and look at this. Look at all these wars. And I'm strolling fast, but you can Google this stuff yourself, okay? And it goes all the way down. And what I found shocking was it went all the way down to 1923. That's the Paiute War. The Posey War, part of the Ute War. You know what I mean? So this is stuff that has been kept from us and not taught to us in our history books. But now that we're in the information age and we can find things, these things can be found. And by the way, I do teach. I teach a 4-week course. We meet through video conference, 1 hour per week for 4 weeks. And at the end of those 4 weeks, I certify you to teach this to other people. Preferably, you start with your children, because they are the most valuable part of this. They're the future, and they need to know early who they really are. Okay, so that being said, I'm gonna get back to it because this is very important. Most black people, we get caught up in majoring in the minors. We focus on the symptoms and not the solution or the problem. You know what I'm saying? We have to go to the root of the problem. They say, well, the reason you have a lot of black on black crime is because there are no fathers in the homes. Okay, I get that. But where are the fathers? They're in jail. Or why are they in jail? All because they must be bad people? No. They're in jail because of the system of racism and white supremacy. It's designed that way. Think about it. You know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. This will explain everything. Again, we breaking this thing down. Racism, okay? I get excited. You know what I'm saying? This subject is what I was put here on this universe to help get across to the rest of the world. Okay? But anyway, so getting back to where I was. Okay? So the Roman Catholic Church basically gave these European people, starting with Spain and Portugal, full authority to rape, murder, and enslave people who did not convert to Christianity. Okay? Now you have to think about it. They didn't care if these people converted or not. They didn't come here for that. These people didn't even speak the same language they did. So when Christopher Columbus came on land, he planted his cross and his flag, and he started talking. We come here to take your land. If you don't give us your land, we gonna go upside your head. These people don't know what he's saying. He didn't give a fuck. He was just handling his duties of saying some shit. He was gonna do whatever the fuck he was gonna do anyway. It was unimportant. See what I'm saying? He was just crossing his I's and dotting his T's. Okay? So, that being said, so like I said, between 1540 and 1923, 94 documented Indian wars for the sole purpose of collecting Indian slaves. And they captured slaves, put them on ships, and they sent them to all different areas. Europe, other states in the United States. And here's why. It got to a point after, let's just say after 1619, when the so-called 20 and odd Negroes came off of the ship in Jamestown. We'll get to that too. But it got to a, you know what? I don't want to get ahead of myself because I do that. Let me stay focused. Let me read through this, okay? Let me do that. All right. Excuse me. Indian slavery became illegal after the colonists tried to get their own freedom from England, and after a number of Indians won their own freedom by taking their enslaver to court. See, Indians, a lot of them who were enslaved here on land, they were in a what you call indentured servitude. They had a contract for hire. It's a contract where two people come together and say, "Hey, I want you to work for me for 7 to 10 years, and at the end of the 7 to 10 years, you're free. You might get some land, some money, or whatever." And that's what took place. But what happened was, white folks got greedy and didn't want to let people out of their contracts. So these Indians were going, "Hey, my contract is up." Now, this contract is kept in 2 of 3 places. The person who you work for got a copy, you got a copy, and it might even be a 3rd copy at the courthouse. And the corner of the thing is maybe bit off or perforated because you bring them the 3 together and you see that it's all the same party. You know what I'm saying? So Indians were going to court and they were suing for their freedom, and they got it. Okay? So this was becoming a problem. I'm going to keep reading. So the colonists decided that in order to continue to make money from the very profitable slave trade, they would import slaves from Africa. In name only. I'll get to that. So King James led the Royal African Company, which was a shipping company, in 1660. That's right. King James. Same family that wrote the Bible. All right? They started pirating enslaved American Indians from Spanish and Portuguese ships in the Caribbean islands. They weren't going to Africa and getting Africans. Okay? So, okay, so where that? Okay, they started pirating enslaved American Indians from Spanish and Portuguese ships in the Caribbean islands off the coast of West Africa near Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone, which was a Portugal colony from 1462 up until the 1600s. So that was a colony of theirs. So they would take American Indians to West Africa, to Spain, to Portugal, to Europe. The transatlantic slave trade that they told us didn't happen the way it told us. It happened in reverse. They took us from the Caribbean islands and from America to other places. Okay? In fact, that list that I just read to you from 1540, I believe, 1540 to 1923, in the books it says more Indians were exported out of America than African slaves imported into America. All ships had logs. The law of sea is pretty solid. Those people weren't going to get paid for their cargo without a ship's log. So it's documented. So the things that they got wrote in there is pretty factual. There were more Indian slaves exported out of America, shipped out of America, than imported Africans, and that's a hijack. Them was just American Indians from different places. You see what I'm saying? So, let me finish reading. So, in fact, the 20 and odd Negroes that came off the ship in Jamestown, Virginia, were pirated by an English ship called the White Lion in 1619. The proof they were American Indians from the Caribbean islands is the fact that we know 11 of their names, and there was 20 of them, but 11 of their names were documented by John Rolfe, I believe. And they had been baptized. That's how they have Spanish names. And that's also why they were taken in as indentured servants and not chattel slavery, because the law was if you were baptized, you could not be enslaved, but you could be an indenture. You could work for a few years, 7 or 10 years, and then you're free from your contract. Okay. As for what these 20 and odd American Indians look like, is obvious. They look like African Negroes because that is their exact description and the historical hijack. Okay? See what I'm saying? It's a shell game. They would take and lock Indians up here, put them on a ship in Jamestown, Virginia, or any other colonies, send them to Florida, send them to the Caribbeans, send them to West Africa, and when they got off that ship, they wasn't American Indians no more. They was African slaves. Bingo. Simple. Documented. But hidden. Slick. You see what I'm saying? But it's all coming to light. It's all coming to light. If you ask your older relatives, and you be very tactful about this, you don't just hit them straight on with it, because a lot of our people died behind this. My people specifically. I'll tell you the story about it maybe in a different video. And in fact, I did speak on it on another video. That's why I want you to subscribe to this channel. Watch all of my videos so you can get caught up. Okay? But anyway, ask some of your older relatives, your grandparents, your older uncles. Some of them may know something, some of them may not, but it don't matter. Ask all of them. Say, hey, uncle, hey, auntie, or grandma, granddad, what can you tell me about our Indian heritage? Or did you hear anything growing up about our Indian heritage? Just see what they say. The answer might surprise you. The answer just might surprise, because it surprised me. Okay, now we're going to get back to this. Okay, so remember we talking about the word racism. That two-part word, race and ism. So, for the second part of the word racism, which is ism, means to maintain the present conditions of black enslavement as a free labor, as free labor, which developed and became more concrete by the false theory of Darwinism between 1809 and 1882. Then eugenics, which is closely associated with scientific racism and also white supremacy. So, in conclusion, racism aims to maintain the current, very profitable condition and belief that blacks are inferior slaves to be used as free or very cheap labor. And that has not changed at all. Now, I can hear people saying, well, slavery ended. Slavery was done away with. Yeah, I hear you. In fact, technically slavery ended in 1865, right? However, slavery never ended. And here's how I'm telling you and how this is a fact. In the books, when it deals with slavery ending, however, the law states that if you are ruled as a criminal, you are a slave. So they never ended slavery. It never ended. It just changed. Which makes it clear why there are so many black people incarcerated. You see how this thing builds on itself? It's amazing. All of our negative conditions are not our fault. This is a system. This is a very well crafted system. But it ain't like people get together once or twice a year and have meetings. No. Jane Elliott, so a little small white lady, she did an experiment back in the 60s. I think the day after Dr. Martin Luther King got killed, she was so upset about it, and she was a teacher, I think third grade. And she says she says, you know what? And I think her class was, she taught an all white school because all of the kids was white at the time. And she was very upset. She said this man was peace loving, and they killed him. They killed him. And that touched her so much, so she was distraught. So she set out to show her third grade class, or sixth, I think it was third grade, what this racism thing was. Okay, so and if you get a chance, look her up, Jane Elliott, and it's probably one of her first videos. I mean, it's an old video, and that video will show you how this system works and how it maintains itself. And it's as simple as this. I'm going to break it down to you right now, but please go and watch it. She split the kids up into brown-eyed, blue-eyed. Let's just say the brown-eyed kids were the privileged class of kids. They had all of the benefits, and their breaks were longer. They got the better food in the class. And the other class, the blue-eyed kids, were the ones who were crapped on. They had to get shorter breaks. They were talked harshly to, and in the course of that one day or a few hours, those kids who were labeled as privileged started acting privileged. Instantly, they started acting privileged. They all got it into one mind and was moving in the same direction. It was scary. You see what I'm saying? And then she switched it. Now, the blue-eyed kids are privileged, and they get all the good benefits. And the brown-eyed kids don't. Instantly, same thing. The blue-eyed kids started feeling better about themselves, had more self-esteem. They all started moving in the same direction mentally. You know what I mean? And the other kids started getting low self-esteem and wasn't feeling good about themselves, and some of them was crying. You see what I'm saying? So you don't have to come together once a year, twice a year, and have no meeting. Here's what we're going to do to screw up black people. No. When people feel privileged, and certain people get certain rights and things are happening for them, they want to maintain that. They're going to do things on their own to maintain what's going on. I'll give you an example. let's say if I'm considered a privileged person and I'm a lawyer, when I see people who are like me who are privileged, they instantly become people you like. Anybody outside your circle, you're gonna disregard. You're gonna do and say things that's gonna offend those people without even thinking. It becomes automatic. You know what I'm saying? And that's how laws are created. Corporations are built around certain ideologies or ideologies. You know, so this system is self building on itself. You know what I'm saying? And it's very dangerous. And it's very one sided. And the only way I believe that black people, and especially black Americans, can fix this is first to understand what racism, white supremacy is, what it has done, so we can move toward bringing justice to this continent first and then to the world. Now, I'm going to have a link in this video, like I say, to the video that I believe everybody that's black should watch. The Crest Theory of Color Confrontation and Racism, White Supremacy by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. You want to watch the video? That's an hour and 23 minutes long. Okay? And again, it'll be in the link. You know, but we have to get very serious about this thing, because look what we've lost. My whole life, I grew up thinking I was an African slave, a descendant of an African slave, and come to find out that's not what I am at all. In fact, I'm a totally different person. I'm an Aboriginal American from right here in America. This continent, this soil under my feet is where I come from, where my people come from. We've lost more than just our labor and supposedly coming from Africa, being displaced. No, we now know that we've lost our identity on two, maybe three fronts, because white people slid the Mongolian, Chinese-looking breed into our slot here in the United States for a very simple fact. Reason is, it's a smaller number of them, always have been. They've only been here a few hundred years. They came across the Bering Straits about 12,000 years ago, according to paleontologists and bone records. Whereas we have been here since creation. So their numbers are very small, okay? And them being small in numbers, they mean they're more controllable. White people could wipe them out if ever they feel a need to, or just do whatever they want with them, which is what they've been doing. You see what I'm saying? So, the Mongolian Indians, part of the identity, stolen identity. Americans, we're the true Aboriginal Americans, but Caucasians think that they're American. You see what I'm saying? You know, and we, like I say, we're not from Africa. You see, so it's a lot going on there. But what I know, what hits me almost the most is we've lost our identity. We're basically descendants of, what do you call those people that's in war and they get locked up? POWs, prisoners of war. We're prisoners of war. We're the children of prisoners of war. Because again, 94 documented Indian wars between 1540 and 1923. But these are wars we have not been educated on, especially not educated on the fact that we are the descendants of those who were locked up. Now, so our identity, our land, and our resources. You know, the American continent has always been very rich in plant life. A large percentage of the food that's enjoyed throughout the world comes from America, you know. But let's focus on a few things. Tobacco. Y'all heard the story about Pocahontas. You see what I'm saying? That whole thing had to do with tobacco. Walter Raleigh, all of those people. They kidnapped her and took her to England so that her grandfather, Chief, I can't think of his name right now. They wanted to know how to cure the tobacco that he was doing. It was obviously pretty good. You feel what I'm saying? So that whole story had to do with tobacco. So we own the rights to the tobacco industry is what I'm trying to tell you. That belongs to us. Cocaine, because tobacco is indigenous to in case I didn't say that, it's indigenous to South America. Okay, cocaine, indigenous to South America. That's the whole cocaine drug empire and part of the pharmaceutical empire. Corn, another plant that we found is where, well, let me put it like this: the plant that corn came from is indigenous to South America. It's a weed, and nobody ever thought about it. And through genetic defect, corn was found by our ancestors hundreds of thousands of years ago. You know, so we have lost a lot. The most important thing we've lost, I think, is the fact that our identity. Now, all of these things could probably be getting back, but we need to start with the basics. And the basics is we all need to be on the same page as far as learning. First of all, who is the enemy? Because we are not our own enemies. If a child, a female child is raped, you do not blame that child for being raped. Let's say she becomes sexually aggressive after being raped. You don't blame her for her sexual aggression. No, you blame the person who raped her. And then you get her some psychological help. You blame the person who raped her. Same for us Americans, black Americans. All these negative things that we're part of and some of us do is from years of the torture we've endured without knowing it. And our psychological help is coming from education and knowing the truth. And this little bit of what I'm showing you here. So if any of this sounds remotely interesting to you, again, matter of fact, it's going to be 2 links below because there's another video I need you to see by Kurimio Aha. Because I credit him and Dane Calloway with the information that they share because it has opened me up. Now, when stuff that I'm telling you, it's going to spark your genetic memory. And that's good. Because your genetic memory is just that. It's genetic. It's buried. It's in your DNA. But this system of racism, white supremacy has worked overtime to suppress your genetic memory. Think about it. They don't want you to wear your natural hair. They don't want you proud of your own natural features, because if you become in love with who you are and your natural features, it will spark your genetic memory. And you'll find things coming back to you more easily. You're a very powerful person. You come from some awesomeness is what I'm trying to tell you. Join the channel. Hang out with me. If you want to fast forward what you're learning, reach out to me and I'll put you into the course. You know what I'm saying? And when I say awesome, you come from some awesome people. There are pyramids in South America that are bigger, older, and more well built than the pyramids in Africa. Our people are the precursor. We're the ones that gave them that technology. I can't get into that in this video. I promise you, I wish I could. But our ancestors are the ones who we brought that technology to our African brothers and sisters. See, we're melanated relatives. The melanated black person occupied every continent on this planet. Even Europe, even Asia, definitely Africa. All of these places have pyramids, have old structures there that our people built. Melanated people. There was no mass migration out of Africa. Everybody didn't come from Africa at all. That's what they want us to think. Europeans want us to think everybody came out of Africa so they could stake claim to all the other land masses. It's evil. It's very evil. But think about it. There are indigenous people everywhere. Asia, India, Africa, but not America? And no indigenous black people in America? See how suspect that is? Because it ain't true. We always been here. Benjamin Franklin wasn't talking about us in particular, but it came out in the conversation he had when he was upset about England needed to send some German people here, and he felt like they need to be here. He was real upset about it. It's in another video. You go check it out. Matter of fact, watch all my videos. They're not very long, just like this one ain't very long, but they're very impactful. You understand what I'm saying? And I go for the facts. I go for digging. You know what I'm saying? I don't like surface stuff. I need to go to the problem. And I hope you the same kind of way. You know what I mean? And that's why I like Kurimio Aha's videos, which I'm going to link in. His videos is part 1. In case it ain't linked, I'm going to tell you the video. Part 1, from Indigenous American to African American. And again, it's by Kurimio Aha. And there are 20 videos in that series. My suggestion is to watch them all quickly. Straight through. Do not skip around. I mean, you don't want to miss any vital facts, you know, when you do that. And then you can go back and watch them slowly. But you want to get it in quick in case they take the videos down or whatever. But just follow them instructions. I basically try to walk people down the same path that I was walked down. One of the first videos I saw when things started to open up for me as far as understanding was Dr. Francis Cress Welson's video. The one I'm suggesting to you, and it's going to be in the description, which is The Cress Theory of Color Confrontation and Racism, White Supremacy. And it's the one that's an hour and 23 minutes long. That helped me understand so much because I grow up as a black American confused. You know? I remember when I was younger. And I'm going to tell you this little story, and I'm going to end this video, but I graduated from DeVry. I'm an electronic engineer by education, and I started a business. I had a business. It was a pager repair center. In fact, it was the largest black-owned pager repair center in Chicago at the time, based on volume. And I was doing pretty well for myself. In fact, I was like almost voted Republican that year. And you might think, well, what you mean? Well, you know, most black people vote Democrat. I grew up poor in the projects in Fort Heights, Illinois. Used to be called East Chicago Heights, Illinois. Food stamps, the whole nine. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, Democrat. Because if you're a Democrat, then, you know, it's like, well, we knew the Republicans weren't looking out for poor people. If you're a Democrat, poor people. So, but I was doing so well. In my mind, I'm thinking, man, if somebody who came up like I did, poor and, you know, and odds wasn't really for me and I made it, then anybody could make it. You know what I mean? So, and I'm like, I'm definitely in a different tax bracket than I'm like, I need to conserve what I have. And that's what being a conservative means. A Republican means to don't change nothing. I want things to stay just the way they are. I need them to be conserved. You see what I'm saying? Because things financially was going well for me. But I was deceived into the fact thinking, if I could do this, then anybody can do it. And that's not the case. You see what I'm saying? That is definitely not the case. Because they parade people in front of us who have made it. I'll give you an example. Oprah Winfrey. Any of these celebrities or sports people. And it'll make common people think, I'm doing something wrong. Why can't I make it? You see what I'm saying? No. Those people are paraded in front of you because they are puppets for the system of racism, white supremacy. What do I mean? What do I mean? A lot of them don't know they are. They simply are just accepted into the system of racism, white supremacy. And being accepted is a very powerful drug. It's the equivalence of you being in high school and the cool kids letting you hang out with them. You see what I'm saying? It's the very same drug. You know, you forget who your people is. You ain't looking out for them. You all of a sudden it's just me. You know what I mean? No. We can no longer be just me. If it don't benefit my people, then I ain't with it. You see what I'm saying? Me alone being happy ain't important enough no more. Because when I die, my kids got to still be here. This whole world need to change. And it's only going to change when black people get on the board, get all pretty much on the same wavelength, I guess is a good word I'm using for it. But we all start to understand a few basic things. And number one thing is, you are an Aboriginal American. Okay? Go look up the definition of American in 1828. Copper colored. That's who you is. Now, of course, my skin is brown. I'm copper colored, but I'm on team black. And it's crazy. I grew up thinking I was black, like the color black. You know what I'm saying? But no. In fact, there are very few people that are the color black. We are all graduated shades of brown, from light skinned, almost white, to blue black, mahogany. You know what I'm saying? We're all just graduated shades of brown. And that's even us here and people in Africa. You know what I mean? The hotter the region, the darker the people. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to end this video, but like I said, I want you to subscribe, like this video, and share this video. And start to open your mind up about who you really are. You understand? Because you are very powerful people. The things I got to tell you and show you, it's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. That's all I can say. I'm going to holler at you later. Peace out.